Hey guys, what's up? Packside Gaming here. So we are working on a trophy achievement guide for South Park Fractured Butthole, and as the title suggests, this is going to be for obtaining the master level on 21 different toilets that you have to sit on throughout the game. So this is a very, very funny game, but there are 21 different locations. They vary in difficulty based on the star level. So the first one you're sitting at here, this is going to be your house, and this gives you the Deuce Master emblem there. Not all of them do. This is the only one that would indicate that you've completed Deuce Master level. Your house is 1 star. There's 2 stars, 3 stars, all the way up to 4 stars. And the nice thing about this is you don't actually have to complete this the first go around. You can hop off and hop back on if you need to. And if you're curious where I am for each of these, at the very beginning of each of these clips, it'll actually indicate which location you're at. So I'm not going to bother putting it in the video at all. The idea behind this is you have to get all stars, okay? So if it's a 3-star difficulty, as this one is, you would have to actually get 3 stars. Now, where I struggled here was with some of the rotations for the left and right sticks, especially in combination. Like if it was the left stick at all, I struggled tremendously. If it was a rotation of the left and right stick, it's over, forget about it. I hopped off the toilet and hoped for just a button mash at that point. But while the nice thing is you can hop off and you can hop back on and do this as many times as you need to obtain that master level, the other nice thing about it is that it gives you a different button combination each time. So if you're having difficulty with a particular left stick rotation, for example, you can attempt it still, right? But if you fail, you can hop off, hop back on, and try again. And there were a couple instances where it was a level 4 difficulty and it was giving me some issues with the left and right button rotation shit. So I would hop off and I would just pray for a button mash at that point. But there are, on top of that, there are several locations, I say several, probably 4, 5, 6 different locations that require some sort of skill that you obtain throughout the story of the game. So in the description below, I'm actually going to list in the order in which I completed these. It'll also be the same order in which they exist inside this video, alright? And I'll also indicate next to each one whether or not it requires some sort of skill that you obtain throughout the progression of the story. On that note, you also have to progress through the story to unlock different areas. Okay, so for example, you can only do the first few of these before you have to do the story missions so that you can progress and unlock other areas. For example, if you tried to walk down to get Bebe's house, for example, knocked out of here, Cartman would stop you. He would tell you that this is the edge of space and time and that you have to turn back. Essentially what he's saying is you cannot access that area without progressing through the missions. You'll notice next to the bus stop initially, the 6th graders are blocking that way. So you can't access some of the other, like Freeman's Tacos or Big Gay Al's house or anything like that, okay, without progressing through the story. So I'll indicate whether or not it requires some sort of skill in the description below, the order in which I completed these, and just be sure you do need to walk through some of the story missions on top of this, alright? So beyond that, if you are having any sort of difficulties with some of the specific ones, as far as maybe using some of those skills, for example, Kevin Stoley's house was the very last one that I did, because you have to use Butter's, spoiler alert, you have to use Butter's hamster to actually unlock the garage, and that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you if you haven't played the story, so it's fine. But beyond that, I think some of the more difficult ones were the police station, maybe Peppermint Hippo strip club, just because you have to, in order to get inside there, you have to use a particular skill that you've obtained. As well as the community center and Stan's house. So Stan's house is right next to everybody else's, but you have to have TOOLSHED to actually acquire that master level toilet completion, alright? All right, so this is the police station. As soon as you go into the police station, the door is locked. The guy makes some sort of like half-assed insult towards you, and then he unlocks the door. You go into the break room, and then you'll have access to both of these bathrooms. But you have to get into the women's restroom by going through the men's restroom. So you can hit this toilet here. All right, you saw I busted that wall first. You're going to go through that wall, and then there are going to be 2 other toilets on the other side. I think the thing that takes the longest with all of this is the whole gassing up thing, and especially if you kind of struggle through any of these. So if you're having difficulty, especially with some of the more difficult 4-star, 3-star ones, and you have to start over, this just takes some time. This is why this video is a little bit long, but you saw I went through that wall, okay, and there are 2 restrooms inside here, 2 toilets inside here. One of them is a higher level difficulty, okay, so just be aware of that. But there's really not too much else to this. I mean, as far as knowing the location, if this video helps at all for the progression of this achievement for you, that's great. But in general, it's basically just you trying to figure out which locations. And like I said in the description below, you'll have that list available to you, okay? All right, so this is the community center. The community center men's toilet, you do need the time-stopping fart, okay? So to pause the world, you walk over and you flip that switch, it turns the electricity off, and then you can actually complete this one here. The next skill that you obtain after this is TOOLSHED. So you get TOOLSHED as an ally, and he can actually use his skill for a couple of these. There are 2 different TOOLSHED skills that are required, and that gets you 19 and 20. So the community center women's toilet, you need TOOLSHED. You also need TOOLSHED for Stan's house, because obviously Stan is TOOLSHED. Okay, and then the last one is going to be Kevin Stoley's house. So essentially, as you can imagine, with these last 4, I believe, yeah, so 18, 19, 20, and 21, you need some sort of special skill to obtain access to these toilets. Okay, so the community center men's needs the fart that stops time or pauses time for 4 seconds, so you can go and flip off that switch. The next one I did, like I mentioned, it's Stan's house, number 19. Again, in the description below, you'll have that list for you. Okay, but once you get into Stan's house, you walk over and you see this pipe in the wall. I do believe that that pipe was not exposed. You actually have to punch the wall there. But once it is exposed, you can actually hold A on top of it. So you'll hold down the left trigger, and then you'll hold A over top of it for Stan to appear here, and he clears the toilet. So if you were in there before, you noticed just this big pile of crap that was coming out of the toilet. He cleared it through the pipe there. Now you come over here, you talk to this turd on the toilet, right? Mrs. Henke, I do believe it is. And after you talk to her, you get a selfie with her. Then you can actually sit on the toilet and you can complete this one. There wasn't anything difficult about this. It was just a time-consuming thing as far as waiting to actually obtain TOOLSHED, right? So you can do the first basically 17 of them without any sort of help whatsoever, but then all of a sudden you have to progress through the story. That's why I created a list. So it's really nice to have this list available to you. If anybody is still listening at this point, at the 16-minute mark of this video. But the nice thing about that list that I created is I was marking them off as I went. So I knew which ones I would highlight once I completed them, and I knew which ones still needed to be touched upon, right? So once you've done this, the next one is the community center. So we can return back to the community center, the women's toilet, and we can call upon TOOLSHED again as our ally to actually, you move that trash can there, and then you hold A over top of that, and you see the big pile of crap there on the toilet. You hold A, he'll clear this one for you too, and while Stan's house had Mrs. Henke in it, this one is going to have Mr. Henke, and you do kind of the same deal. He clears the toilet here for you, and then you're going to talk to Mr. Henke. You get a selfie with him, okay? But so this was the very last one before Kevin Stoley's house, which is the last one. So this is the second to last one. You only need TOOLSHED for 2 of these, Stan's house and the community center women's toilet. If I haven't mentioned that enough, just to reiterate one more time. But Kevin Stoley's house was the last one because it required a skill that you didn't obtain until later on, beyond TOOLSHED, beyond the fart that stops time or pauses time, okay? It requires Butter's skill. And Butters has this skill where he, you'll see it, but he takes one of his minions, which is essentially a gerbil with aluminum foil on it, and he shoves it up your ass, and then you shoot it at some sort of electrical panel, all right? So throughout the entire game, you've probably been walking past Kevin Stoley's house wondering how to get in there because his front door is locked. You have to enter through the garage. And again, I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, once you're done with this is a rather difficult one as well, but once you're done with this level 4 difficulty, as you can imagine, I've probably fallen off of this one a couple times and had to redo it. I can't quite remember. I know the porter potty at the construction site was probably the most difficult for me. I had to do that one at least 4 times. So after this one, once you've completed this, is the second to last one. The very last one is Kevin Stoley's house. So you will have to fight off some ninjas here probably. Okay, you have to clear out the bad guys in front of his house, because once you progress through the story enough, you get more and more enemies that are trying to attack you. A set of them are ninjas from the China buffet place or whatever, the City Walk place. So they are shitty ninjas is what they keep saying. But as you can see, I used Butters' special there, right? I called upon Butters to use his minion. I unlocked the garage. Now you can go up those stairs there, okay? So you can go up that ladder, and once you get up the ladder, you're going to take a right, go all the way over to that other ladder. It puts you on top of the roof. Now you have access to Kevin Stoley's house, okay? So you don't need to go through the front door. You have to actually go through the garage. So hopefully this helps you guys out if you're wondering how to get to this last one here. But once you're in the garage, or once you're on top of the garage, you go into his room. I just fast forwarded it here to the end. So this is the very last one. And of course they're going to throw those left and right rotations at me, obviously, because why would it be easy? This was difficult for me too. Like if I had to go up and down, I just couldn't, like, that's like trying to pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time. It just, like, it totally screwed me up. But again, hopefully this helps you guys out. Once I get this final star here, that is all 21 locations. Okay, I was really surprised that it wasn't more than just 15 gamer score here. Okay, so 15 gamer score, probably just a bronze trophy on PlayStation. But this seemed to be one that probably should have been a lot more than that. But that's neither here nor there. You'll get the pop there, okay? So CRAPPIN FORTE. Ridiculous. 80% of people have this, so it can't be that difficult. But hopefully this helps you guys out. Make sure you subscribe to Packside Gaming, and we will catch you guys next time.